Hey guys, Dark Energy here, bringing you another non-meta build, the Engine Centurion Shield Stacking Healer. Shield stacking like you've never seen before, not just for you, but for your allies. 4, 5 shields at any given time, super effective. Even after shield nerfing a few patches ago, you gotta remember they also took a buff by gaining your resistances. Shielding is not dead. If you're looking to retweak your healer based on the upcoming nerf to orbs and healing springs, check out this build. This may be right up your alley. This out-of-the-box idea came from a very simple concept. Healing is reactive. You cannot heal past 100% health. But what if you could? As a healer, when you're not healing, you're buffing. But what if you could do more than that? What if you could equip your allies with damage shields totaling up to 80,000 damage or more, mitigating their damage long before they even take it? That is what this build has to offer. That is the concept behind this build, this Dwarven themed build, Engine Centurion. Let's dive in. Alright, so the first step is to get your Flawless Conqueror title as a DPS and then convert this toon into a healer. Just kidding, you don't have to do that. Take a look at the stat screen. We had 2,400 recovery with Dark Exchange. It's about 2,700 recovery, over 30k max Magicka on the resto bar. On the sword and board bar, our resistances are high, and our max health is actually a bit higher. And that's because some shields will cap at a max health threshold, so the bigger the better. Food, Witch Mother's Potent Brew for that max health and Magicka Recovery with Magicka. The mages are Mundus because we're not a Magicka toon, we're actually a Nord, and I'll get to why. Vampirism for that undeath passive, mitigating more damage, and also 10% Magicka Recovery and Stamina Recovery at all times passively. And there's a ton of buffs on this build, a lot for you and a ton for your allies, and I'll go over some of these as we go through the video. And we'll talk about why we're a Nord and why we're a Sork actually, and how this all comes together. Okay, so let's delve in and check out some of the gear in the setup here. So our first 5-piece set is the Imperium set. We are sword and board and resto. We want to be a bit tankier for this build because we're in the fight. We're not as far in the sidelines like you might be used to. But the 5th trait, when you take damage, 10% chance to hand out almost a 15,000 point damage shield to all allies within 8 meters. We got a powered resto for even more healing done. Monster set, there's some options. I'm using Sentinel of Arkugams, if that's how you pronounce it. Not only for the Dwarven theme, but also healing done, and then you proc that spider that is going to heal him in an AoE, but also restores over 4,000 stamina resource to your allies. Second 5-piece set, Combat Physician. Lots of crit, max Magicka. When you critically heal an ally, which happens all the time with mutagen orbs, I'm still going to use those after the patch here, and you know, combat prayer, all of your healing. When you crit them, you get 10,000 point damage shield to them every 6 seconds. Let me tell you, it's all the time. Now we got to be set up with 5 light. I think we're too heavy 5 light, so Imperium has to be on your weapons, in your jewelry, and maybe at the most 1 piece or 2 pieces on your body, depending on the weight of your monster set. And if you want more Magicka versus health, you can just transmute those jewelry pieces to Arcane. Now 2 things proc just now: Combat Physician, 10,000 point damage shield, and the Sentinel of Arkugam Spider, restoring over 10,000 health and over 4,000 stamina. You saw the area there. That's every 15 seconds. If you want to use Earth Gore or Chokethorn or Troll King or even Symphony of Blades, it's up to you. Alright, so let's check out the skill setup here. Okay, so our ultimate on our resto bar is Reviving Barrier. It hands out a 30,000 point damage shield. It's cheap. 23,000 healing over 30 seconds. That's base without crit. Our first skill is Empowered Ward. It's a shield for you, but it gives all your allies minor intellect, increasing all of their Magicka Recovery by 10%. A nice passive buff there. You can see the blue ring. It just came under this guy's feet in addition to me. So he now has minor intellect. The next skill, Combat Prayer, is a cheap spammable heal, but it's also a resistance buff and a damage buff. Minor Berserk to all your allies, 8% damage increase, and Minor Resolve and Minor Ward, increasing all the resistances by 1320. The next one, Inner Light, we want to get a little more Magicka, but we also want that spell crit to help proc combat position. Mutagen, this one here, you're going to load your allies up with this heal over time, and that's going to constantly proc combat position. And it's going to give them a nice little burst heal if they drop below 20% health, and purify a negative effect from them. There you can see it just procced. So Mutagen is going to constantly keep that going. Next skill, Ward Ally. This one scales off missing health, 5,100 at base, up to 15,000 depending on their wounds, because it goes up to 300%. You can cast that as much as you want, and you can just direct it on which ally needs it. So if you see a low health ally, you can look their way, cast it, and then now they've got a between 5 and 15,000 point damage shield. And the Sentinel Spider just keeps coming out. Apparently he wants to be the center of attention. Now, Sword and Board Bar, Energy Orb. This is a great heal over time. It offers a synergy, healing combustion. This is actually going to get nerfed next patch, Scale Breaker, where you can no longer throw more than one. As you see here, I got 3 beams connected to me. Now you can only throw one, and when you throw one another direction, it's going to cancel it. So they did slow it down to going, I think, 2 meters a second versus what was 3 meters before. So it's going to go through the crowd slower, but I'm still planning on using it. Next skill, Dark Conversion. This is a great heal for you, Magicka replenishment for you, but also passively gives your allies more spell crit, 6% more through the dark magic passives of the Sork. So every time you do that, you're actually going to buff your allies' crit chance by 6%. Minor Prophecy. And that buff is going to last for a total of 20 seconds. And that's also where you get that extra 240 Magicka Recovery I mentioned earlier that doesn't show up on your character sheet. Okay, next skill, Bone Surge, another ward. This one offers your allies a synergy opportunity, but it also gives them a shield when they synergize up to 62% of their max health. And it's going to give them major vitality when they synergize for 6 seconds. Everybody is going to get 30% increased healing. And that goes a long way, that major vitality, with all your heal over times. And you want to throw this synergy opportunity into your rotation every 6 to 10 seconds. The next skill, Power Surge, that's your spell damage buff, but it's also going to heal you 3,000 health every 1 second when you deal a crit hit. And that's going to be done by Boundless Storm, even without effort, constantly zapping mobs around you. But Boundless Storm you want to use for your Major Resolve and Major Ward, that's your resistances. Those two together, Power Surge and Boundless Storm, is going to keep you healed and keep you buffed, resistance, and keep your spell damage up. The ultimate for the one-handed shield, Spell Wall. This is going to reflect all projectiles for 7 seconds. It's going to allow you to get a resurrection if you need it. You can cast that and then resurrect somebody behind it. I said we were a vampire. I want to show you get that 10% Magicka and Stamina Recovery, but you get this colossal resistance buff, up to 33% additional damage mitigation when you're below 50% health. You got to be at stages 3 or 4, so make sure you are. And lastly, we are a Nord. For the Nord racial passives, we want the ultimate regeneration you get from being a Nord. We want the extra physical and spell resistance buff you get from being a Nord, because damage shields are going to carry your resistances. So this allows us to kind of keep our uptime on our ultimate without wearing Blood Spawn. You could wear Blood Spawn actually in addition to it if you really wanted to soar through ultimate. And they even have potions now that you can craft that will give you minor heroism to really get that ultimate generation up, giving you a real strong uptime on your replenishing barrier. And I want to show this build in combat so you guys can see its effectiveness. But before I do, I want to do one more thing, and that is to give you a clear demonstration of how many shields you'll be giving your allies and how often they'll be getting them. So Imperium just procced on my ally. Now they just synergize with Bone Shield. There's Reviving Barrier, and there's Ward Ally. The proc of Sentinel Spider. The one they didn't get this time around was Combat Position, so that wasn't even all of them. Another example. There's Imperium. Here's a Bone Surge synergy. A third ally came in. There's Reviving Barrier, and there's Ward Ally. 4 again. There's a Sentinel Spider out again. This is constant. The uptime of these is constant. Okay, one more example. It's actually kind of funny. The Spider will get your shields as well. So there's Imperium. I'm going to load up some shields here. There's Bone Surge, Ward Ally. I'm going to get a Combat Position right there. It was on me. Now you can see my Spider's back out again. mutagen. There's another Imperium. Bow and Surge, they synergize, reviving barrier, ward ally. I mean, this is constant. And this is a slowed down battle for clarity. When you're in a full active battle, these procs are even a lot more than what you see there. Now I'm going to show you a couple of Dungeon Clips Veteran hard mode. I want to talk about this one. So the tank was actually kind of weak. I don't know what he was doing. So I had to actually pay a lot of attention to him, more than I should have. And on this screen, you might see I don't have Inner Light slotted. Instead, I have Mystic Guard. And I actually Mystic Guarded to him to take 30% of his damage, but also so he gets more healing. Watch Combat Prayer Tooltip, you'll see it when it crits. It'll be around 12, 11K, and I'm just right there. And I just had to keep focusing on him, which typically, I mean, yes, the tank is going to need healing, but you know, anybody that knows this dungeon, he was kind of doing it wrong. But this is a good example of the healing capability outside of even the warding and the buffing, the burst healing capability of this build. Look, I did replenish or Mystic Guard again, trying to keep my eyes on the other players here, but that's to give again him more healing and reduce his damage by 30%. It also increases my Magicka Recovery, by the way, by 10% for being slotted. So if ever you have like a bad player, DPS or a tank, go ahead and you can slot that if you want and keep that Mystic Guard on them. They'll get less damage taken and they'll get more healing. Next example, the DPS was up here by himself, so we were waiting on the tank and the other one. So I went ahead and Mystic Guarded to him, and then as they approached here, I saved my barrier. There's the barrier ultimate, and I canceled the Mystic Guard. Now I only have it on one bar because it's too consequential to have it on both, but it's on my resto bar where I can actually ward ally and spam Combat Prayer. I want to add that with the resistances and being a Nord and wearing Imperium, being in the battle taking damage is beneficial, so your uptime on Imperium is there. Anyhow, the last clip is Veteran, City of Ash, Valkynscoria on hard mode, and anybody who's done that boss fight on Vet, on hard mode, knows it's a very, very tough boss fight. So go ahead and take a look. Enjoy, guys. Alright guys, that wraps up this video, the Engine Centurion Shield Stacking Healer. If you like this build and you want to see more, I've got a couple others on my channel. Feel free to share this video, copy this build, tweak it a little bit, get out there, have fun, and always, thanks for watching. Dark Energy, signing out.